1 second. Yes, we're live now. Okay, when at first you don't succeed, try again. All right, good to see everybody. We're here in New Orleans again. And we're going to, let's see if I can get a better light on the situation. No, this will have to be maybe this way. Anyway. Okay, so now we're going to, what are we going to do? We're going to chant Dhammadarashika, just 2 more days, today and tomorrow in Kartik, and 2 more days of chanting the Dhammadarashika. Sakundalam Gokure Brajamanam Yasodamiyo Lukalan Napamanam Paramrikamat Shandado Ruchagobya Rudantamunetra Mamrichandam Kadambuju Yung Mena Satanganetram Mokushashakamba Ture Kankakanda Sita Graivam Namahodaram Bhakti-vadam Lila Pirananagule Swagocham Nimbajantam Atyapayantam Tadiyajita Geshu Bhaktadijatwam Punakrematraksam Varam Deva Boksham Namokshavatimma Nachanya Prineham Varesha Apira Idam Deva Purnatano Alamalalam Sadame Manasyavirastam Kimanyai Idam Nuimukam Bosham Atantanilai Vitam Guttalai Sneda Ratai Shagopya Mokutsum Vitam Bimbarat Tamarame Manasyavirastamalam Lachadamai Namo Devadam Mugaro Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhudo Kajala Vimagam Kripa Drustivish Tati Dinlampatanu Pranachama Madhyame Rachi Visha Uverat Manjao Bhatta Ujjai Vadyan Vat Twayam Mochita Bhakti Majokutocha Tata Prema Bhakti Sukame Prayacha Namokshe Gurukome Sti Namo Nareya Namaste Sudamne Spura Dipti Damne Twati Utoraya Talo Svashanamne Namo Radhikaya Twatiya Viyaya Namo Nanda Lilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Vishwaram Sakshet Anandarupam Satkunanam Gokule Prachamanam Yasudami Yolukadam Dapamanam Paramrikama Chandato Ruchakobhyam Jayarat Hadamudarat Hadamudarat Radat Damudarat Damudarat Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paracharya also Tela Satashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shilhuidas Thakur Ki Jai Rem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaved Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda, Hari 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 Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budle, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharini Nivashesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Jaisha Tarani. Let me read the translation. Undergarment? I don't have any undergarment. There's nothing there. Just a Brahman thread. So, to the Supreme Controller who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters. Oh, I see, on the wall. Rafters in the store. That makes sense. Alrighty, with that brief interlude, from the rafter of their storerooms, and then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and his mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright, and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, who is bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drowned the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who were attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure, loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you were able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation or eternal life, Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimba fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I'm drowning in an ocean of sorrow and almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me, and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastimes. So, Lord Damodar, Ki Jai. Okay. Alrighty. So, we are in New Orleans, and this is the next to the last day of Kartik. And we are going to read from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah, Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, friends, Romans and countrymen, so we're going to start the Caitanya Caritamrta. We're on the 19th chapter of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, and we are on text 17 today. That's where we left off. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 17. All right, here we go. Pull up closer. Bhattacharya Pandita Vishatrisha Lana Bhagavata Vichara Karena Sabate Vasya Sri Sanatana Goswami used to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam in an assembly of 20 or 30 learned Brahmin scholars. So let's just reiterate what we talked about yesterday. We're talking about Rupa and Sanatana Goswami after they met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Ramakeli, and Lord Chaitanya went back to Jagannath Puri, and later on to go to Vrindavan. Then they decided to leave their government service under the Nawab Hussain Shah. Rupa Goswami was able to just like really head for the hills, take all of his money with him, put something aside for emergencies, give something to the Vaishnavas, and leave something for his brother, Sanatana Goswami, who we're going to read about today. But Sanatana Goswami couldn't leave government service, and he was thinking he wanted to make it so that the Qazi would be happy to get rid of him. In other words, he was going to act in an irresponsible way by staying home and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And there was some discussion yesterday about Puruscharya. Puruscharya means the preliminary activities before one comes to the spiritual platform. And as we commented yesterday, that with the chanting of the Lord's holy names, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then we don't need to perform any other Puruscharya other than chanting. The chanting itself is the Puruscharya, chanting itself is the sadhana, the chanting itself is the sadhya. So it's the preliminary activity, it's the practice, and it's the perfection. So in other words, when you go back to the spiritual world, you don't have to stop chanting. It's not that you go back to the spiritual world and just meditate on the Brahman, effulgence. You actually serve Krishna and you chant Hare Krishna. So here we see that Sri Sanatana Goswami used to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam in an assembly of 20 or 30 learned Brahmin scholars, and he played hooky. Playing hooky means that he didn't go to work, and he was telling the Nawab Hussain Shah that he was sick. So it's a good excuse, but actually he wanted to stay home and hear Srimad Bhagavatam and later on get the Nawab angry with him so he would have an excuse to leave. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on the words Bhagavat Vichara as confirmed in the Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.4-5. There are two kinds of educational systems. Dvivijay viditavyahiti asmayad brahmavido vadanti para chayva paracha tatratra rigvedo yajurveda samavedo dharvaveda siksha kapo vikaranam niruktam chando jyotishamiti ataparayatad aksharam adhigamyate. There are two kinds of educational systems. One deals with transcendental knowledge. That's called para. Vidya means transcendental knowledge. And the other deals with material knowledge. Apara Vidya, that means the knowledge which is not transcendental. Okay? All the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda, along with their corollaries known as Siksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, and Jyotisha, all belong to the inferior system of material knowledge of Para Vidya. By Para Vidya, one can understand the Akshara, Brahman, or the Absolute Truth. As far as the Vedic literature is concerned, the Vedanta Sutra is accepted as the Para Vidya. Srimad Bhagavatam is an explanation of that Para Vidya. Those who aspire for liberation, mukti or moksha, and introduce themselves as Vaidantika are also equal to those groups aspiring to improve religion and dharma, economic development, artha, and sense gratification, kama. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are called chatur varga. They're all within the system of inferior material knowledge. So, of course, these are called the four purusharthas. The chatur purusharthas. That means the four goals of people within this material world. And devotional service is known as Panchama Purushartha. That means the fifth goal, or spiritual life. Any literature giving information about the spiritual world, spiritual life, spiritual identity, and the spirit soul is called Paravidya. Srimad Bhagavatam does not have anything to do with a materialistic way of life. It gives transcendental information to educate people in the superior system of Paravidya. Sanatana Goswami was engaged in discussing the Bhagavata Vidya, which means he discussed transcendental superior knowledge. Those who are karmis, gyanis, or yogis are not actually fit to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Only Vaishnavas or pure devotees are fit to discuss that literature. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, 12:13-18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahangsham Ekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naiskarmyam Avishkritam Tashrin Van Supartan Vicharana Paro Bhakja Vimuchena Naraha. Although Srimad Bhagavatam is counted among the Puranas, it is called the spotless Purana because it does not discuss anything material. It is liked by transcendental Vaishnava devotees. The subject matter found in Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for Paramahamsas, that means topmost swan-like persons. As it is said, Paramo Niratsaranam Satam Vedyam, Bhagavatam 1:1-2. A Paramahamsa is one who does not live in the material world and does not envy others. In Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is discussed to arouse the living entity to the transcendental position of jnana, knowledge, and vairagya, renunciation, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-12. Tachradana munayo jnana vairagyo yuktaya pashanchatmani chatmanam bhakti-shruta grihitaya. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Sutra, Vedanta Shruti. This is not sentiment. Knowledge and renunciation can be obtained through devotional service, bhaktya shruta gudhitya, that is by arousing one's dormant devotional consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When Krishna consciousness is aroused, it relieves one from fruitive activity for economic development, improvement, and material enjoyment. This relief is technically called naiskarmya. And when one is relieved, he is no longer interested in working hard for sense gratification. Srimad Bhagavatam is Srila Vyasadev's last mature contribution, and one should read and hear it in the assembly of realized souls while engaging in devotional service. At such a time, one can be liberated from all material bondage. This was the course taken by Sanatana Goswami, who retired from government service to study Srimad Bhagavatam with learned scholars. I guess I'll explain a little bit about the Vedic literatures. Of course, you have the four Vedas, and there are corollaries, as Prabhupada talked about. The Rig, the Yajur, Atharva, and Samaveda. And, of course, the Rig Veda is mainly Vedic hymns, and most of the hymns are actually to the different demigods, especially Indra. But also in the Rig Veda, you have the verse, Om Tad Vishnu Pratalam, Pada Pashanti Yad Surya. There are all these different demigods that are actually worshiping and looking to Vishnu. So that's the Rig Veda. Samaveda is a Veda of like music, and Atharva Veda is the Vedic of different mantras. So the Rig, Sama, Atharva, Yajur Veda is the Veda of sacrifices. Okay. And that's a brief overview. Okay, let me continue with the Vedic literature. So then after that, you have the Upanishads. Upanishad means to come closer and learn spiritual knowledge. And the Upanishads, they actually hint at spiritual subject matters. And then there's a commentary on the Upanishads to help people understand, which is called the Vedanta, or the Vedanta Sutra. And then there's the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam written by Srila Vyasadeva. But there's other literatures too. There's the Itihasas, which are the histories such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. And there's the other Puranas. There are 18 main Puranas, and 6 Puranas of those 18 are meant for people in the mode of ignorance, and 6 Puranas of those 18 are meant for people in the mode of passion, and 6 Puranas of those 18 are meant for people in the mode of goodness. And amongst those meant for people in the mode of goodness, you have the Mahapurana, which is actually Srimad Bhagavatam, which is called the Amala Purana. Amala Purana means the pure Purana, which has no other information in it than information which helps one progress in spiritual life and realize the ultimate goal, and also understand the different tattvas. So that's it in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no ritualistic stuff that's advocated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's simply pure devotional service from beginning to end, but administered in a way that people can understand. In a very simple way. You have many, many stories in Srimad Bhagavatam, and you have, surrounding those stories, you have many prayers by great devotees. And so by hearing the stories and reading the prayers that are connected with those particular stories, one can gradually come to the stage of anartha nivritti. Anartha nivritti means giving up all unwanted things like lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, fear, all those wonderful types of anarthas, unwanted things, and then ultimately come to the stage when one is ready to read the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which deals with the transcendental reality, that is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes in Mathura, Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. So let's continue. Aradina Godakeshvara Sangika Jana Achambite Goshani Sabate Kaila Agamana. While Sanatana Goswami was studying Srimad Bhagavatam in the assembly of learned Brahmanas, one day the Nawab of Bengal and another person suddenly appeared. Oh my God, he got caught leaving his job. Oh, that means the boss is coming. The full name of the Nawab of Bengal, Hussain Shah, was Alodina Sayyoda Hussain Saha Saripa Makar. And he ruled Bengal for 23 years from 1420 to 1443 Shakabda, which means AD, 1498 to 1521. That's quite a few years. Sanatana Goswami was studying Srimad Bhagavatam with the scholars in the year 1424, which is AD 1502. I mean, it's like 4 years into the Nawab's reign. Patsaha dekhiya sabe sambrame utila sambrame asanadiya vajare vasaila. As soon as all the Brahmanas and Sanatana Goswami saw the Nawab appear, they all stood up and respectfully gave him a sitting place to honor him. And Prabhupada explains that although Nawab Hussain Shah was a Malacha Yavana, who means one who doesn't follow the Vedic principles and eats meat, he was nonetheless the governor of the country, and the learned scholars at Sanatana Goswami offered him all the respect due to a king or governor. When a person occupies an exalted executive post, one should consider that he has acquired the grace of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Lord Krishna says, Yad yad vimutimat sattvam Srimad urjitame vidva Tatareva bhakacha tvam mamha Tejom Shah Sambhavan. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Whenever we see something exalted, we must consider it part of the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A powerful man, vimutimat sattvam, is one who has obtained the grace of the Lord, or has derived some power from him. In Bhagavad Gita 7:10, Krishna says, Tejas, Tejasvinam Maham, I am the power of the powerful. The learned Brahmin scholars showed respect to Nawab Hussain Shah because he represented a fraction of Krishna's power. It's interesting. It's not that they were thinking that he is a respectable person, but they were thinking that he has been empowered by Krishna in a specific way and manifesting a particular aspect of Krishna's Shakti. Wow. Anyway, and that's manners anyway. I mean, even if some mundane politician like the mayor of New Orleans came in the room, I would stand up to receive him. Even though, well, of course, I'm not saying I'm a devotee, but even though, in one sense, I'm better situated than him in a higher position, still I would offer him respect because that's manners. Rajakahe Tomarastane Vaija Pathailun Vaijakahi Vyadinahi Shustagye Dakilun. The Nawab said, I sent my physician to you, and he has reported that you are not diseased. As far as he could see, you are completely healthy. In other words, Sanatana Goswami was declaring that he was sick, just so he wouldn't have to go to work, so he could study Srimad Bhagavatam, so the Nawab would get angry at him. This is his plan, so he'd get fired. But little did he know at this particular point that his getting fired meant that he'd get put in prison. Most people, when they get fired, don't get put in prison, but Sanatana Goswami had a very interesting way of getting out of prison. Such an interesting story. Amaraya kichu karya sabatumalana karya chari rahila tumi garite vasya. I am depending on you to carry out so many of my activities, but you have given up your governmental duties to sit here at home. Moriyata karya kama Sabakaila Nasha Kitamara Hidyache Kaha Mora Pacha. You have spoiled all my activities. What is your intention? Please tell me frankly. This is Nawab speaking. Sanatana Kahi Nahiyama Hoitikama Araika Jana Dia Karasamadana. Sanatana Goswami replied, you can no longer expect any service from me. Please arrange for someone else to attend to the management. Tabi Kruda Hona Raja Kahiyara Bharat Tumara Bada Bhai Kare Dashu Vyavahara. Becoming angry with Sanatana Goswami, the Nawab said, your elder brother is acting just like a plunderer. Of course, Nawab was relating to Sanatana Goswami like his brother. He's not referring to Rupa Goswami at this particular point. Because at that time, all the people who lived in the same place, village, or whatever it is, they had this brotherly, sisterly, family relationship, a village relationship. Jiva Bahumari Koila Chakla Sabanasha Heta Tumi Kaila Mora Sarvakarya Nasha. By killing many living entities, your elder brother has destroyed all Bengal. Now here you are destroying all my plans. Sanatana Kai Tumi Swatantra Gaureshvara Ye Yedo Shakare Dehatara Pada. Sanatana Goswami said, you are the supreme ruler of Bengal and are completely independent. Whenever someone commits a fault, you punish him accordingly. Etashuni Godadishvara Utigare Gela Palai Babali Sanatanere Bondhila. Hearing this, the Nawab of Bengal stood up and returned to his home. He ordered the arrest of Sanatan Goswami so that he could not be able to leave. It is said that the relationship between the Nawab of Bengal and Sanatan Goswami was very intimate. The Nawab used to consider Sanatan Goswami his younger brother, and when Sanatan Goswami showed a very strong intention to resign, the Nawab, feeling familial affection, essentially said, "I'm your elder brother, but I do not look after the state management. My only business is attacking other states with my soldiers and fighting everywhere as a plunderer. Because I'm a meat eater, Yavana, I'm used to hunting all kinds of living beings. In this way, I'm destroying all kinds of living entities in Bengal. While engaged in this destructive business, I'm hoping that you will tend to the administration of the state. Since I, your elder brother, am engaged in such destructive business, you, being my younger brother, should look after the state management. If you do not, how will things continue?" This talk was based on a family relationship, and Sanatan Goswami also replied in an intimate, joking way. Essentially, he told the Nawab, "My dear brother, you are the independent ruler of Bengal. You can act in whatever way you like, and if someone commits a fault, you could punish him accordingly." In other words, Sanatan Goswami was saying that since the Nawab was accustomed to acting like a plunderer, he should go ahead and take action. Since Sanatan was not showing much enthusiasm for performing his duty, the Nawab should dismiss him from his service. The Nawab could understand the intention of Sanatan Goswami's statement. He therefore left in an angry mood and ordered Sanatan Goswami's arrest. Whew. Terrible. Heina kale gela raja udiya marite sanatane kahi tume chalamoratsate. At this time, the Nawab was going to attack the province of Orissa, and he told Sanatan Goswami, "Come along with me." Hussein Shah attacked the neighboring province of Orissa in 1424, Shakabda era, that is AD 1502. At that time, he conquered the feudal princes there. Tainho kahi yabi tumi devataya dukadite mora shakti nahi tomara sangi aite. Sanatan Goswami replied, "You are going to Orissa to give pain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For this reason, I am powerless to go with you." So he's insulting the Nawab. Remember that. Tabi tanre bandiraki harila gamana eta nila chala haite prabhu chalila vrindavana. Thus the Nawab arrested Sanatan Goswami and kept him in prison. At this time, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu departed for Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri. Tabi se dvikshara rupastani hoila Vrindavan Prabhu Ashya. The two persons who went to Jagannath Puri to inquire about the Lord's departure returned and informed Rupa Goswami that the Lord had already departed for Vrindavan. Shuniya Shirpalikila Sanatana Tani Vrindavana Chalila Sri Caitanya Goswami. Upon receiving this message from his two messengers, Rupa Goswami immediately wrote a letter to Sanatan Goswami saying that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had departed for Vrindavan. Amitwi Bai Chalilana Tanhare Milite Tumi Aiche Taiche Chuti Aisatahan Oite. In his letter to Sanatan Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami wrote, "We two brothers are starting out to go see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. You must also somehow or other get released and come meet us." So the two brothers that Rupa Goswami is referring to were himself and Anupama, the other brother. There were three brothers altogether, and Sanatan Goswami, of course, was still in government service and imprisoned. The two brothers mentioned here are Rupa Goswami and his younger, exactly what I just said, Anupama Malika. Rupa Goswami was informing Sanatana Goswami that he should join him and his younger brother. Nasha Sahasra Mudra Tatache Muti Stane Tahadya Kara Shigra Atma Vimochane. Rupa Goswami further informs Srila Sanatana Goswami, I have left a deposit of 10,000 coins with the grocer. Use that money to get out of prison, in other words, bribe. So you can bribe if you're doing the Lord's service. Yaiche tache chuti tume aisa vrindavana etaliki dvivai karilagamana. Somehow or other, get yourself released and come to Vrindavana. After writing this, the two brothers, Rupa Goswami and Anupama, went to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Anupama Malika Tanranama Sri Balabha Rupa Goswami Chotabai Parama Vaishnava. Rupa Goswami's younger brother was a great devotee whose actual name was Sri Balabha, but he was given the name Anupama Malika. Tanhalana Rupa Goswami Prayagayahila Mahaprabhu Tahan Shuni Anandita Haila. Shri Rupa Goswami and Anupama Malika went to Prayag, and they were very pleased to hear the news that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was there. Prabhu Chaliyachena Bindu Madhava Darashane Laksha Laksha Loka Aise Prabhu Ramilane. At Prayag, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to see the temple of Bindu Madhava, and many hundreds of thousands of people followed him just to meet him. Kaya Kande, Kaya Hase, Kaya Nachi Gaya, Krishna Krishna Bali Kaya, Gad Gadi Goya. Some of the people following the Lord were crying. Some were laughing, some dancing, some chanting. Indeed, some of them were rolling on the ground, exclaiming, Krishna, Krishna. Ganga Yamuna Prayaga Narila Duvaite Prabhu Dubaila Krishna Primera Vanyate. Prayag is located at the confluence of the two rivers, the Ganges and Yamuna. Although these rivers were not able to flood Prayag with water, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu inundated the whole area with waves of ecstatic love for Krishna. Vidadeki Dvibhai Rakila Nirjane Prabhuda Veshahaila Madhavadara Shane. Seeing the great crowd, the two brothers remained standing in a secluded place. They could see that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was ecstatic to see Lord Bindu Madhava. Prema Veshe Nachi Prabhu Hari Dwani Kari Urva Bahu Kari Vale Bala Huri Huri. The Lord was loudly chanting the holy name of Hari, dancing in ecstatic love and raising his arms. He asked everyone to chant Hari Hari. Prabhura Mahima Deki Loke Chamatkara Prayagi Prabhura Lila Nari Varni Bara. Everyone was astounded to see the greatness of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, I cannot properly describe the pastimes of the Lord at Prayag. Dakshinatya Vipra Sanayache Parichaya Sevi Prani Mantriya Nila Nichalaya. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had made an acquaintance with a Brahmin from Deccan in South India, and that Brahmin invited him for meals and took him to his place. Vipra Grihe Asi Prabhu Nivrite Vasila Shri Rupa Balava Tunhe Asyami Lila. While Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting in a solitary place in the home of that Deccan Brahmana, Rupa Goswami and Sri Balava, that is Anupama Malika, came to meet him. Dvigo chitrana dunhe dashanay graya Prabhu deki dure pare dandavat hana. Seeing the Lord from a distance, the two brothers put two clumps of straw between their teeth and immediately fell down on the ground like rods, offering him obeisances. Nana shloka padi yute padi bara bhara Prabhu deki prema vesha ahila dunhara. Both brothers were overwhelmed with ecstatic emotion on reciting various Sanskrit verses. They stood up and fell down again and again. Shri rupe dikya prabhura prasanahaila mana uta uta rupa sa valila vachana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see Srila Rupa Goswami, and he told him, stand up, my dear Rupa, come here. Krishnara karuna kichu nayaya varnane Vishwaya kupa haite katila toma dvijane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, it is not possible to describe Krishna's mercy, for he has delivered you both from the well of material enjoyment. Nibo. Name bhaktis chaturvede madbhaktas shvapacha priyaha tasmayam tatogarayam sacha pujo yatayam. Lord Krishna said, even though a person is a very learned scholar of the Sanskrit Vedic literatures, he is not accepted as my devotee unless he is pure in devotional service. Even though a person is born in a family of dog eaters, he is very dear to me if he is a pure devotee who has no motive to enjoy fruitive activities or mental speculation. Indeed, all respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. Such devotees are as worshipable as I am. This verse is included in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 10.127, compiled by Sanatana Goswami. Okay, just one more verse, and then we'll finish. Eishlokapadi dunhare kailalingana kripate dunhara mataya darila charana. After reciting this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced the two brothers, and out of his causeless mercy, he placed his feet on their heads. Wow, that is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now we will stop sharing. Well, we're stopping sharing. And then we will allow you to unmute yourselves. Hold on a second. You're allowed to unmute yourselves. You are allowed to raise your hand. You are allowed to, let me just go to the hands here. You are allowed to ask a question. You are allowed to unmute yourself. So, does anyone have any questions, comments, or raise your hands, or you can type something, of course, in the chat window too. Going once, going twice. Okay, Mr. Cohen, you have a question?
Please accept my obeisances, Gurudev.
Okay.
So, the Nawab Hussein Shah invaded Orissa.
Yeah.
So, wasn't Maharaj Prataparudra there to defend, and who won?
Well, it's not he invaded all of Orissa. I mean, Orissa is quite a big state. And actually at that time, let me just remember the history there a little bit. Orissa actually encompassed part of Bengal that we know today. So it's not that he actually went all the way to Jagannath Puri or anything like that. The state of Orissa was actually quite large, or larger than it is today. And so obviously he did not encounter King Prataparudra. So he conquered, as it's described here in the verses, he conquered some of the kings the princes or kings who were actually just like little tiny kings. In India, you actually have all these, or used to have all these little kingdoms, little tiny kingdoms of one village or several villages or something like that. So it's not that he conquered all of Orissa. No, not at all. And actually, going back in history, this is not even related to the Caitanya Caritamrta, but you had Emperor Ashoka, who later on became a Buddhist. He went to Orissa and he created a slaughter of so many living entities, and by slaughtering so many living entities, he had a wake-up call and decided that what he was doing was wrong, and that's why he became a Buddhist. But unfortunately, the Nawab Hussain Shah never became a Buddhist, never became a Hare Krishna devotee, Vaishnava, or anything like that. So obviously it was a part of Orissa, basically, that somehow or other King Prataparudra was not defending or did not defend at that particular time. Okay. All right. Who else has a question? Someone else must have a question. Nalini Kant. Okay, why don't you ask your question?
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev, can I?
Yeah, ask your question.
Gurudev, how we see that in Mathura, can I ask away from the topic, like from today's topic?
You already started, so you might as well continue.
Okay, Gurudev. So how in Mathura everyone was harassed by Kamsa, and he has taken the throne, and he was doing all these atrocities in Gokul. So Hastinapur, like they all, Kunti Maharani was there in Hastinapur that time, I suppose. And so they were, and I heard in many times in the lecture that Yudhishthir Maharaj or previous to him, they were ruling the whole world. So were they not protecting Gokula and Mathura? So that's my question.
Well, they also had enemies too. Well, first of all, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj wasn't ruling the whole world at that time. At that time, when Krishna appeared and Kamsa was doing all of his atrocities, in Hastinapur, you had maybe even Shantanu at that time, or Shantanu had passed away, and you had Vichitravirya, like that. And Yudhishthir wasn't there at that time. Yudhishthir, actually, Arjuna is the same age as Krishna.
Yeah.
And Yudhishthir is a little older than Krishna, and Bhimsen is a little older than Krishna. So Yudhishthir wasn't there.
Possibly
and also
Pandu
there were other kings. No, it wasn't the Pandavas weren't there.
Pandu Maharaj.
Pandu could have been Pandu Maharaj, Vichitravirya. I don't have the exact time sequence in my mind right now that I can figure that out. But Bhishma was there. Grandfather Bhishma was definitely there.
Yes.
He wasn't ruling because he had vowed not to take over the kingdom.
Yes.
It could have been Satyavati calling the shots at that time. In any case, there were small kingdoms that were not under the influence of them at that particular time. For example, you have the Jarasanda's kingdom. In Jarasanda's kingdom, Bihar was not under the under Hastinapur at that time until it got conquered when Bhimsen killed Jarasandha.
Okay, Gurudev. Thank you, Gurudev.
All right.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Okay. So wait, one more question. Oh yeah, Arundhati.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev, Dandavat pranams to you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna. This is also off-topic question. This is regarding Gayatri, doing Gayatri recitation. So shall I ask, Gurudev?
Yeah, ask the question, although this is a general class, so.
Thank you. So I'm like with the daylight time savings, I'm having hard time to take shower during the evenings, because by the time I come back from the work, it is like just now I reached home. So timing is important or cleanliness. I'm not meeting both criteria. I'm missing the time.
Well,
I'm
even, I
sorry.
mean, sometimes one is not able to be completely clean when saying Gayatri. Just like if you're work in the middle of the day or different things like that. So I would say that just don't be too, let's say, focused on either. Just do it roughly at the same time. Try your best to be clean. If you're not able to be clean, just do Achman. I mean, sometimes I'm in an airplane and it's time for Gayatri, and I do not take a shower in an airplane. And I just say the Gayatri at that time. I say, chant Hare Krishna. That's the only purification I can do at that particular point. And I say Gayatri. So the main thing is just be practical. If you're able to be perfectly clean for Gayatri, that's fine. If you're not able to be perfectly clean, then just be practical. You can't, in this day and age when we're working jobs or traveling around the world, one should not be or cannot be too fanatic about the time sequences, but just say roughly at the same time. When I'm talking about saying Gayatri, anywhere, I would say anywhere between, the sun sets, roughly about 5 o'clock or something like that. Actually, it's right here, it's almost 6. So no, actually here it's 5. Sorry, I'm in New Orleans. So when the sun sets at roughly about 5, or until 7:30, or if it really gets tough, 8, or in the morning, just be roughly at the same time. I don't think we have to really be fanatic, ritualistic brahmanas who are just waiting for the exact second that the sun sets. I think roughly within 2 hours or something, and that would give you more time. As far as the cleanliness, just do the needful. I mean, Prabhupada didn't take a shower just every time before he said Gayatri. He just didn't do that. It wasn't practical. Prabhupada was out preaching. Prabhupada was traveling in a car. So we have practical life. We're not just sitting in the holy place and just doing nothing but our sadhana. So just be practical. So,
Thank you so much, Gurudev.
thank you. So in that light, I have some programs tonight, so I have to end class right now. And we will see everybody tomorrow, same time, same station. Thank you very much for joining us. And we're enjoying very much this Caitanya Caritamrta reading. It's very enlivening. It actually helps me focus more on the Caitanya Caritamrta. Well, it's not quite an hour because I do my kirtan. Anyway, you hear devotee children screaming in the background. It's not me, it's them. So anyway, so I have a program tonight, and tomorrow night, of course, we'll have class, but after the class, we're probably going to have some sort of program concerning the Tulsi Shalagram Vivaha, which is the last day of Kartik, and also tomorrow is, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is also Nimbarkacharya's appearance day. And it's also going to be Katyayani Vrat. So all you men and girls who want to get a husband or a wife, you should worship Katyayani. No, don't do that. That would be a mistake. We worship Krishna. Akama Sarvakama Mokshagama Dharati. That's the gopis who worship Katyayani, not you. You don't worship Katyayani. That Prabhupada never told us to do that. We're not authorized. Even if you do want a husband or a wife, God forbid, so then you should just chant Hare Krishna. Say Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna. Please give me a wife. Please give me a husband. Husband, Hare Hare. Okay. On that happy note, we'll see everybody tomorrow evening, same time, same station, or tomorrow morning, depending on where you are. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.